All right, diving right in. Today we're looking at Qualcomm.
Qualcomm, yeah,
And I know you're eager to figure out, like, what is next for this company. We've
definitely.
got a whole stack of reports and things that we've been digging through,
Yeah.
market trends, all sorts of stuff to try and understand,
Hmm.
where they are, but more importantly, where are they going?
Right.
Qualcomm, for anyone who doesn't know,
Yeah.
huge in the semiconductor world. I mean,
Yeah, they are.
really powering so many of our smartphones and way beyond that now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
But that's the big question, right?
yeah.
Can they keep this going? Are they going to be successful?
Hmm.
Or are there some risks that we need to think about?
Right. Yeah, because it's one thing to be the leader in one area,
Exactly.
but tech moves so fast, can they keep up?
Yeah,
Can they find that next big thing?
absolutely. And they've had an amazing run.
Oh, totally.
I mean, just crushing it
Yeah.
recently. Beating these earnings estimates, the revenue projections. It's just been like victory after victory.
Yeah, and it's not just like one good quarter.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
consistent,
Yeah.
It makes you think like, okay, they're not just lucky.
Right.
They're doing something right.
Yeah, they're adapting, right? They're
Yeah.
they're figuring out how to play this game.
Absolutely.
And winning. I mean, their EPS was what,
The-
269
For
or
Q4,
Q4, yeah, fiscal year 2024.
which is huge.
I mean, and revenue topping $10 billion.
Expressive, yeah.
Pretty mind-blowing numbers. I mean,
Hmm.
so what's the secret sauce here?
Is it just smartphones?
Is it just, yeah, is that carrying them? Or
Well,
is there more to it?
well, I mean, smartphones are still a big part of it, but
Yeah.
that market's getting pretty crowded.
Yeah.
I think Qualcomm's really been smart to look beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not just sitting back.
Right. So where are they looking?
Well, their revenue growth year over year was 18.7%.
Wow.
That tells me they're finding some new avenues.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is coming from two areas,
Yeah.
automotive and IoT.
Automotive and the Internet of Things.
Yeah, the hot topics, right.
That's where it's at right now. I mean,
Everybody's talking about self-driving cars, smart homes,
yeah.
all that.
So what's Qualcomm doing specifically in those areas?
So they're basically taking what they know, like they're masters of mobile tech,
Right.
right? 5G,
Hmm.
all that.
Mhm.
And they're applying that to the cars and devices of the future.
Okay, so it's more than just putting a Qualcomm chip in a car.
Oh, yeah.
What's the big play here?
Well, their Snapdragon digital chassis, for example.
Yeah.
It's like a total platform. It brings together entertainment, connectivity, even driver assistant systems.
So they're really going for that whole experience.
The whole, yeah, they want to power the future of driving. Think AI helping you drive, anticipating dangers, that kind of stuff.
So like a car that can like almost see around corners?
Almost, yeah.
Wow.
It can warn you about things before you even see them.
That's pretty amazing.
It is.
It makes sense then why they have this $45 billion design win pipeline for that.
Yeah, that's not small potatoes,
No, not at all.
but a big bet.
It's a big bet, and automotive's a tough space, right?
Oh, it's crowded, yeah.
So who are they up against? Who are the big competitors?
You got some serious players like
Sure.
MediaTek, Texas Instruments, even AMD in some areas.
Oh, wow. Okay, so how do they stack up? How does Qualcomm compare?
Well, MediaTek, they're known for like their cost-effective solutions,
Right.
especially in the like mid-range phone market.
Okay.
But when it comes to like the high-end premium stuff,
Yeah.
Qualcomm's 5G tech, it's tough to beat.
Okay, so it's almost like MediaTek is going for the masses?
Yeah, the volume.
Yeah.
With the affordability.
And Qualcomm's like the luxury brand.
Yeah, the cutting edge, the high performance.
Okay, and what about Texas Instruments?
They're a powerhouse for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they make a ton of different products,
Yeah.
but they haven't really jumped into automotive and IoT as aggressively as Qualcomm.
Interesting. So that could be a problem for them down the road.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, and then you mentioned AMD.
Yeah, AMD's a beast,
Right. They've been doing well in the CPU and GPU market.
crushing it, yeah.
So are they a direct threat to Qualcomm?
It's a little different.
Okay.
AMD's focus is more on like raw computing power.
Right.
Qualcomm has a wider reach,
Yeah.
especially with wireless technology.
Which is essential for all this stuff, right?
Exactly. You can't have self-driving cars and smart homes without it.
Right. Okay, so far it sounds like Qualcomm's got a good track record.
Yeah, very strong.
Ambitious plans, and they're navigating this competitive landscape pretty well.
They're holding their own, yeah.
But what about the investors?
That's Street, right?
What's Wall Street thinking? Are they buying into Qualcomm's vision?
Oh, Wall Street loves Qualcomm right now.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, the average price target for their stock is over $200.
Wow.
1.57 to be exact.
And what's the stock at right now?
Last I checked, it was around 157 and a quarter.
So that's a pretty big potential jump.
You know, we're talking 28% upside.
Wow. Okay, so are all the analysts like equally optimistic?
Most are, yeah.
Or some a little more cautious?
Well, some are even more bullish.
Okay.
Like some projections are saying it could go up by like almost 70%.
Wow.
69.4 to be exact.
That's incredible.
That's a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically saying Qualcomm's going to keep growing like crazy.
Right, but we have to remember those are just projections.
Projections, yeah.
I mean, the market
It's not a crystal ball.
with
Things change.
right. Things can change quickly, especially in the tech world.
Absolutely, got to be careful.
So those predictions are exciting.
Yeah.
But it's not a guaranteed thing.
Right. Nothing is guaranteed.
Right. Yeah.
And that brings us to a big point, which is that
Okay.
every investment has risks, and Qualcomm is no different.
Absolutely. And for Qualcomm, there's one big one that really stands out.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, their dependence on Apple.
Ah, the Apple question.
Right. It's a huge source of revenue for them right now.
Yeah.
But it could also be their downfall, right?
Yeah. What happens if Apple decides to make their own modem chips?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is, and it's a real possibility.
Because if that happens, I mean, what Qualcomm loses like 1.75 billion in revenue?
Potentially, yeah.
I mean, that's a big chunk of their business.
A big chunk, yeah.
And it makes you wonder, like, how much are they thinking about that? Well, they have to be thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because if they don't diversify
Mm-hmm.
and reduce that reliance on Apple,
Right.
they could be in trouble.
Yeah, it's a sobering thought.
It is.
Okay, so we've got Qualcomm, incredible performance lately.
Yeah.
Ambitious plans for the future,
Mm-hmm.
but also facing some serious challenges.
Absolutely.
So where do we go from here? I'm interested to learn more about these challenges, like how big are they really?
Yeah.
And how is Qualcomm planning to overcome them?
Mm.
Should we dive into those next?
Yeah, let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay, let's do it.
Well, I think Qualcomm's move into automotive and IoT, it's partly a response to those challenges.
No.
You know, they're not ignoring the risks.
Right.
They're trying to spread their bets, you know?
So it's like hedging their bets, diversifying a little bit.
Exactly, yeah. Not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Okay, that makes sense. So
Yeah.
let's unpack these bets a little bit. Starting with automotive,
Yeah.
it really feels like the whole car industry is transforming right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Electric vehicles, self-driving,
Yeah.
all this connectivity stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So where does Qualcomm fit into all of that?
Well, you know, people are saying cars are becoming like smartphones on wheels.
Okay.
And if that's the case,
Yeah.
who better to power those rolling supercomputers than Qualcomm?
Yeah, I see the connection there, but it's a
Right.
crowded space, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you've got the traditional car companies, you've got the Teslas, the Googles of the world.
The tech giants are jumping in.
Yeah. So what makes Qualcomm's approach different?
Well, I think it's their focus on building a complete platform.
Okay.
You know, it's not just about the chip. It's about the whole experience, the whole connected car experience.
So, like, give me an example. What kind of features are we talking about here?
So imagine a car that can talk to other cars.
Yeah. Talk to the infrastructure. You know, sharing data about road conditions, traffic, hazards.
Okay.
I mean, that could really improve safety, efficiency, all of that.
So like creating a network of smart vehicles that work together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all communicating.
Wow.
And it goes beyond that. I mean, think about driver assistance systems,
Okay.
adaptive cruise control, lane keeping, automated braking, all that.
But those features already exist in some cars.
Yeah, but Qualcomm's taking it to another level.
Okay, how so?
They're using 5G AI
Mm-hmm.
to create systems that can process tons of data in real time. So
Okay.
these features, they become more responsive, more reliable.
So it's like a smarter version of what we have now.
Yeah, a more advanced version.
Okay, and of course you've got the entertainment side of
Oh,
things.
yeah. I mean, with all that processing power,
Yeah.
you could have incredible entertainment systems in these cars.
So streaming, gaming.
Yeah, think high-definition movies, immersive video games.
Yeah.
You could even have augmented reality experiences projected onto your windshield.
Okay, now that sounds pretty futuristic.
It is.
I mean, how realistic is all of this in the near term?
I mean, the technology is definitely moving fast,
Yeah.
and Qualcomm is right there leading the way, but there are challenges.
Like what?
Well, the car industry, it's slow to change.
Okay.
Long development cycles, lots of regulations.
Right.
It takes time to get new tech into cars.
So even if the technology is ready, it could be years before we actually see it on the road.
It's possible, yeah. And then there's the cost factor.
Right, because all this fancy
Yeah.
tech,
It's not cheap.
it's going to add to the price of the car.
Absolutely. And not everyone can afford that.
Right.
But, like with most tech, the prices tend to come down over time.
As things get more mainstream.
Exactly. As production ramps up, innovation continues.
Okay, so it's a long game for Qualcomm.
It is. They're betting on the future of transportation.
It's a big bet.
Big bet, but the potential payoff is huge.
Right, so that's automotive, but we've also got this other big bet, the Internet of Things.
Oh, yeah, IoT.
And isn't that even more complex and sprawling than automotive?
Oh, it's massive. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about everything from tiny sensors in everyday objects
Uh-huh.
to giant industrial machines, entire smart cities.
It's almost hard to wrap your head around.
It is. It's huge.
So how is Qualcomm even approaching a market that's so diverse and changing so quickly?
So they're doing a lot of different things.
Okay.
They're making chips, they're developing software, they've got cloud-based platforms,
Mm.
all designed to power all these different IoT applications.
Okay, so give me some concrete examples.
Okay.
What kind of devices are they targeting?
Well, think about smart homes, for example.
Okay.
Qualcomm's tech can power your thermostat, your security system, your appliances.
So making our homes more efficient, more convenient.
Exactly, and it's not just homes. They're in wearables like smartwatches, fitness trackers, all that stuff that's monitoring our health and activity.
So it seems like they're trying to put a Qualcomm chip in just about everything.
Well, they want to be everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's not just consumer stuff either.
Okay, so what about the industrial side of things?
Oh, they're big in that too.
Okay.
Their IoT solutions are being used in factories
Okay.
to connect machines, monitor production,
Mhm.
track assets, all of that.
So basically helping businesses become more efficient and productive.
Exactly. And it goes even further. I mean, Qualcomm is even involved in smart city infrastructure.
Wow. Okay, so like traffic management, energy optimization, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all those things that make cities smarter and more sustainable.
It's pretty amazing to think about the potential of all this interconnectedness.
It is. It's a whole new world.
But isn't this IoT space incredibly competitive?
Oh, it's a jungle out there.
I mean, everyone wants a piece of this pie.
Everyone, yeah, it's very fragmented, lots of different companies.
So how does Qualcomm stand out in all of that?
I think their strength is in their ability to provide complete solutions.
Okay.
It's not just the chip.
All right.
It's the software, the cloud connectivity, the data analytics, the whole package.
So it's like a one-stop shop for all your IoT needs.
Kind of, yeah. They want to be the glue that holds the whole Internet of Things together.
That's a pretty bold vision,
It is.
but it also seems incredibly challenging.
Oh, it's not easy.
So are there any specific hurdles that they need to overcome in the IoT space?
Well, one of the biggest is security.
Okay.
With all these devices connected to the Internet,
Right.
there's a huge risk of cyber attacks, data breaches, all of that.
Yeah, that's a valid concern. So how's Qualcomm addressing that?
They're building security features right into their chips and software,
Okay.
using encryption, authentication, all the latest stuff.
So they're making security a priority from the ground up.
Absolutely. They know that security is essential in a connected world.
Okay, so it sounds like they're taking the right steps, but this IoT landscape, it's always changing, right?
Always.
So what are some of the other challenges that they might run into?
Well, interoperability is a big one.
Okay.
You've got all these different devices, different platforms,
Right.
making sure they can all talk to each other. That's crucial.
So it's not enough to just build the tech.
Right.
They also need to make sure it works with everything else.
Exactly. And then you've got data privacy.
Oh.
All these IoT devices are collecting tons of information about us.
Right.
So how is that data being used? How is it being protected? These are big questions.
Yeah, and are there any rules or guidelines in place to address that?
I mean, governments and industry groups are working on it,
Okay.
but it's still early days.
So it sounds like there's a lot going on in the IoT world.
A lot of moving parts, yeah.
And Qualcomm's trying to juggle all of it.
They are. It's an ambitious undertaking.
But if they pull it off,
It could be huge.
the impact could be enormous.
Yeah, I mean, the Internet of Things has the potential to change everything. The way we live, the way we work, the way we interact with the world around us.
And Qualcomm wants to be right in the middle of it all.
They want to be the driving force behind it.
Okay, so we've talked about Qualcomm's big moves into automotive and IoT.
Mm-hmm.
And it's clear they're not afraid to take risks. They're betting on the future.
They are. They're not playing it safe.
But like with any gamble, there's always the chance that things don't go as planned.
Right. There are always risks.
So what are some of the potential pitfalls that could derail their ambitions?
Well, I mean, we already talked about their reliance on Apple.
Right, and that's still a big one.
It is, yeah. If Apple switches to their own chips, Qualcomm takes a big hit.
Right. That dependence on one customer, that's a real vulnerability.
It is, and it's not the only risk.
Okay, so what else? What else should we be thinking about?
Well, the semiconductor industry in general, it's cyclical.
What does that mean?
It means it goes up and down.
Okay.
You know, there are booms and busts
Get in my...
by all sorts of things, the economy, global events, new technologies.
So even if Qualcomm is doing everything right,
Mm-hmm.
they could still be affected by these external factors.
Absolutely. Forces beyond their control.
So it's like they could be playing a perfect game and still lose?
It's possible. Yeah, and it's not just economic cycles.
Okay.
You know, geopolitical stuff, trade wars, supply chain issues.
Right, because they rely on manufacturing and partnerships in other countries.
Yeah, especially China.
So what happens if those relationships go south?
That could be a big problem, yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got the constant pressure of competition.
Oh, yeah, that never goes away.
I mean, it's like a race to the top.
It is. Everyone's trying to build the fastest, the most efficient chips.
And how does Qualcomm stay ahead in that kind of environment?
Innovation. That's the key.
Okay.
They have to keep investing in R&D,
Right.
pushing the boundaries, but that costs money.
Yeah, it's a balancing act, right.
It is. They need to keep their current products competitive,
Mm-hmm.
but also invest in the future.
Right, and then there's always the legal stuff.
Oh, yeah, the lawsuits.
Patent disputes, antitrust.
Those can be a real headache.
Yeah, because those things can drag on for years.
They can, and they can be very expensive.
Right. So it sounds like Qualcomm is walking a tightrope here.
No way, yeah.
Incredible potential, but also surrounded by all these hazards.
It's a high-risk, high-reward situation.
So let's get to the bottom line here.
Okay.
What does all of this mean for someone who's interested in Qualcomm?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm an investor, should I be buying their stock?
Right.
If I'm a tech enthusiast, should I be excited about their future?
It's not a simple answer.
Okay.
I mean, Qualcomm is at a really interesting point.
Yeah.
They're making bold moves, they're innovating,
Mm-hmm.
but they're also facing some serious challenges.
Right. So it's a mixed bag.
It is.
A lot of potential,
Mm-hmm.
but also some real risks.
Right. So how do you make sense of all that?
Yeah. How do we weigh those factors?
Well, it comes down to individual assessment,
Okay.
you know, risk tolerance, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an investor,
Yeah.
you have to think about your goals, your time horizon, how much risk you're comfortable with.
Right. Because the tech
It's
sector,
volatile.
it's not for the faint of heart.
No. And Qualcomm is no exception.
So don't bet the farm on Qualcomm, but maybe keep an eye on them.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Okay.
Do your research, understand the risks, and then make an informed decision.
Yeah.
And if you're a tech enthusiast,
Mm-hmm.
this is a really exciting time to be following Qualcomm.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pushing the boundaries in automotive, in IoT.
Right.
Their innovations could have a huge impact on our lives.
I'm definitely intrigued to see how it all plays out. They have their earnings report coming up soon, right?
Yeah, January 29th.
So that'll be a big one.
A big one. Yeah, I think a lot of people will be watching that very closely.
To see how they're doing, how they're handling all these challenges.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like the next chapter in a really interesting story.
Right. We're all waiting to see what happens next.
We are, yeah.
Well, you've you've given us a lot to think about.
I hope so.
Qualcomm's story, it's far from over.
Oh, yeah, they're just getting started.
And it's definitely one worth following. I
Absolutely.
mean, that's kind of the beauty of these deep dives, right? We
Yeah.
get to explore these complex stories, these companies, these industries,
Get it to dig in, yeah.
and really understand the forces that are shaping our world.
It's about asking questions, challenging assumptions, and
Yeah.
embracing the unknown.
Yeah, because the future is uncertain,
Always.
but it's exciting.
It is.
And that's what makes it fun. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Qualcomm.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hopefully you found it insightful, thought-provoking. And until next time,
Yeah.
keep exploring, keep learning, keep questioning. So it really is kind of like walking a tightrope for Qualcomm.
Yeah, high wire act for sure.
Incredible potential if they make the right moves,
Mm-hmm.
but some pretty steep drops if they stumble.
Yeah, the stakes are high.
Let's talk more about those pitfalls.
Okay.
You mentioned the cyclical nature of the semiconductor industry.
Right.
What does that actually mean, practically speaking, for Qualcomm?
It means they're really tied to the global economy.
Okay.
Like if consumer spending slows down, that could hit the whole tech sector pretty hard.
So less demand for smartphones.
Yeah, less demand for everything.
Oh.
All the devices that use Qualcomm's chips.
So even if Qualcomm has the best technology,
Even if they're doing everything right internally,
they can still get caught in a downturn.
it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, it's a bit unsettling, to be honest.
It is. It's the reality of operating in a globalized world.
Yeah,
We're all connected.
right. And it's not just economic cycles.
No, there are other things too.
Geopolitics, trade wars,
Supply chain disruptions.
which we've seen how fragile those can be.
Oh yeah, especially lately.
Qualcomm relies a lot on manufacturing and partners in other countries.
Right, China especially.
What happens if those relationships get messy?
It could be a nightmare.
Delays, shortages, costs go up.
Yeah, it could really throw a wrench in their plans.
And then of course you've got the competition.
Always nipping at their heels.
It's a constant race, right?
It is a race to the top,
Faster, more efficient, more innovative chips.
and it never stops.
So how does Qualcomm stay ahead?
They have to keep innovating,
Right.
investing in R&D, pushing the boundaries.
But that takes a lot of resources.
It does. It's expensive.
Right. So they've got to balance, like keeping their existing products competitive while also investing in the future.
Exactly. It's a tough balancing act.
And then you throw in the legal stuff,
The lawsuits.
patent disputes, antitrust.
Yeah, those can be a real drain.
Costly, time-consuming.
Yeah, and they can damage your reputation.
Qualcomm's been through a few of those.
Oh yeah, their fair share.
And probably more to come.
Probably.
So it really does feel like they're walking this tightrope.
They are, yeah.
Huge potential,
Mhm.
but surrounded by hazards.
High risk, high reward. That's Qualcomm.
So let's cut to the chase here.
Okay.
For someone who's interested in Qualcomm, what does this all mean?
What's the takeaway?
Yeah, if I'm an investor, should I be buying their stock?
Right.
If I'm just a tech enthusiast, should I be excited about their future?
It's not a simple yes or no answer.
Okay.
I mean, Qualcomm's at a really interesting point.
Yeah.
They're making big moves, pushing into these new markets.
Right.
They're innovating like crazy.
Yeah.
But they're also facing some real headwinds.
Some of which are out of their control.
That's the tough part.
Yeah. So how do we make sense of all of this?
Well, I think it comes down to individual assessment.
Okay.
What are your goals? What's your risk tolerance?
Right, because the tech sector in general,
It's volatile.
you got to be ready for that.
Yeah, and Qualcomm is no different.
So maybe don't bet the farm on Qualcomm,
Probably not a good idea.
but maybe keep an eye on them.
Definitely worth watching.
Do your research, understand the risks,
Mm-hmm.
and then make your own decision.
Right, an informed decision.
Yeah, and for the tech enthusiasts out there, it's an exciting time to be following Qualcomm.
It is. They're doing some really cool stuff.
They're pushing boundaries.
Yeah, and their work could have a real impact on all of us.
So this story's far from over.
Oh, it's just getting started.
And they've got that earnings report coming up.
Yeah, January 29th.
That'll be a big one.
Big one. A lot of people will be watching.
Yeah, to see how they're doing, how they're managing all these challenges.
Exactly.
It's like the next chapter in this really interesting story.
It is. We're all waiting to see what happens next.
Well, you've given us a lot to think about.
I'm glad.
Qualcomm's Qualcomm's future, it's full of potential, but also some uncertainty.
That's the tech world for you.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so interesting, right?
Absolutely. It's always changing.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Qualcomm.
It was my pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful, thought-provoking.
Yeah.
And until next time.
Until next time.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep questioning.